we sharing a lot of success story. Hey, I was able to do this. We brag about like all the things that we achieved, but I don't feel like we speak enough about all of the horrible, the Halloween story, if you will, of real estate, and especially the lesson and the story on how you on what you learn on those deals. So I really want to open that up. I have a ton of like horrible story that happened to me, like all the deal that went wrong and how I solve it. Some of the deal don't close, some of the deal close, and the lesson I learned from it. So I can go first if you want, Amanda, Michael, and V. So you can think about that, and then when it comes, I do really want you to share your story so that way we can all learn from it. Or maybe me and Amanda, we can pick out a few things that can help you improve on it. How does that sound?
Or we're
Yeah.
going to scare you out of the industry.
Okay. Yeah. My first deal is actually happened at my first listing. So this is the co-listing that I do with Kai. And you guys, I think I told the story again before. I can tell it again. On the day of closing, the seller refused to move out of the house. He basically called me and Kai on the day of closing, right? When the buyer already parked his U-Haul truck like in front of his house. Is hey, my hotel or my arrangement in California have some issue. But for that reason, I'm gonna stay in this town for 7 more days. And he told that to me at the day of closing. And he just refused to move out. And the buyer, they already packed all their stuff and they park a U-Haul in front of the house for closing. Long story short, a lot of yelling, a lot of drama, a lot of yeah, a lot. I would say it was really bad. And Kai is he's ready to give up. Say, hey, screw this thing. We're not gonna close this deal. Let's just let's just yeah, he doesn't want to deal with it anymore. I stay calm. I walk into the closing room, and back then you still have the buyer and the seller at the same closing table. And you can imagine the pressure. So long story short, the seller, he agreed to move in. They have an ADU on the back. It's like a garage apartment. The seller, he agreed to move into the ADU in the back for free. He didn't want to pay. And then the buyer moved into his main house. So the buyer and the seller, they share that house for actually 14 days for almost 2 weeks, right? Until they until the seller move out because he couldn't find any place in California. So if I can close that deal, I can close anything, Sarah and Amanda. Yeah, and all it requires is to have try to get each party to calm down, try to get the seller to calm down, try to get the buyer to calm down, and just have them talk at the closing table and figure out an agreement that was acceptable to both the buyer and the seller. And apparently the buyer, they don't really mind if you stay in the ADU, just stay there and then try to get out whenever you can. So I don't know if they become best friends after that, but yeah, that was tough.
Put them in the same room.
Yeah, no, it's an ADU, Amanda. So the garage apartment, that's where the seller is moving to.
Like as far as like negotiations, because what I found is a lot of times it's the buyers talk to their agent and then their agent talks, and then it's lost in translation.
Yeah,
Sometimes it's
exactly.
just put them together and let them hash it out kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. So you mentioned it, Amanda. It was too much from the buyer agent to me, and then from me to Kai, and then from Kai to the seller. In this whole chance, and then the message get distorted. It's lost. And back then we still do the old way of buyer and seller shaking hand at the closing table. So right at that table, we solve everything. It was tough. It wasn't fun, and I honestly don't know what to do. But I keep asking, like, "Hey, do you want the house?" And I keep working out the deal until everybody comes to an agreement, and they finally sign the paper. That was stressful, and that was my first listing.
Always the first one is it makes you like second guess life of what did
Yeah.
I do wrong and why am I in this industry? But then it makes you so much tougher and
Hmm.
skilled for the next one.
Yeah, yeah. I gained so much confidence after that deal. I was like, hey, this is really tough. I'm glad that I went through all of this drama. I see the pressure from the seller side. I see the pressure from the buyer side, but there's always a solution. You have to keep at it. Kai is not here, but he already gave up. Fuck this thing. I'm done.
Oh my gosh. God, there's so many. So if the topic is like things that have gone wrong in real estate, I feel like every third file is a story.
Yeah.
My very first file ever, I met this guy at an open house. He was my first client ever. It was the picture perfect textbook. He $500,000 house. He shook my hand upstairs and was like, "I'm going to hire you. You can be my realtor." And I'm like, imposter syndrome. Oh my gosh. Get him under contract to this beautiful house in the Heights. And come to find out the lady who listed the house has been a realtor for 30 years, but she only does leases. She never did listings. That was her thing. And she was so frazzled and so worried about everything going that every time she called, she would just yell. She'd just yell and scream and be stressed out. And so this was my first experience in real estate. I thought, I guess everybody yells and they're stressed out and everything like could go wrong. And long story short, the lender needed to extend just by 24 hours, like one day, 24 hours. And I told her like 2 weeks in advance because I was like so worried everything would, perfect. She screamed at me until she started crying. I was at lunch with my, I think, God, maybe boyfriend at the time, husband. I don't even know if I was married to him yet. Anyway, long story short, I was like so frazzled and I thought, I never want to either continue this or I never want to have this experience again. And so now when things hit the fan, I'm always like really careful to be like that calm, strong person because it's so easy to get frazzled and yell and scream. And it didn't accomplish anything. If anything, it was like, I don't want to answer your phone calls. So that was my first impression of real estate. And then my biggest aha that I now do, especially with luxury listings, but really any listings now, is I take the 10 seconds to go over exclusions. What is an exclusion and why do you care? Because those price points are people who are like different cultures. They won't sell their house if they're not going to get to keep that family heirloom
Mm,
chandelier. They will lose the deal over that darn chandelier
yeah.
and it's hideous. And I've really learned to take the time when walking through the house going, do these window panes that are painted and colored from your mom that, passed 20 years ago, is that something you want to keep? Do we want to take those out before we get the photos so that people don't see that and think that they want it? Is the chandelier something you want? You want to swap it out before we list the house? Because I've had to buy a chandelier. I've almost lost a deal in West Shoe over a Jonathan Adler rug. I had to buy a stupid rug. I still get the magazines. They market to me now. Jonathan Adler mails me magazines, which is just a constant reminder of over communicate, like anticipate that there could be a problem because at the end of the day, principal over price point sometimes, and they'll kill the deal over a rug or a chandelier. So ask.
Amanda, I wish that I heard your story before because that's exactly what happened with my first $1 million listing as well. I did
It's
not
so
take the
different
time.
price point.
I did not take the time to go over the exclusion list. And at the end, me and the buyer agent, we have to deal with, first of all, it's a smart lock. That was a gift from his son giving to the seller. And she insists on removing that smart lock. And the buyers know. But at the end of the day, she do it without our permission. And then the buyer went walk to, she put in a really cheap, like Home Depot lockbox in front of the house. And she took the lockbox and she willing to lose the deal over that. That was a mess. And then same thing, stuff like the chandelier, the blind, they took it out and they're willing to lose the deal over that.
The curtains are hideous, but they match the sheet set from their kids when
Yeah.
they're 5 years old, and the pillowcases match. And
Yeah, so me and the
all the
listing agent, we have to deal with all the exclusion that we have not heard of. Something really simple, the like the cabinet handle, stuff like that. They would take it out, and it's just out of my mind. That's my first $1 million listing as well, and that just killed my experience with luxury listing.
time.
So I wish I listened to Amanda's story before because I did not think I did not I did not know that was an issue later on.
Yeah, big questions to ask. Is there anything that you want to take with you? Is a chandelier, a light fixture, the window treatments? What do you love that you're just emotionally attached to? We're going to take it out before we even get
Mm,
pictures because I don't want them
right.
to see it online and go, oh, the light fixture is different online. Let me look at this picture and zoom in. So go through that whole process with them and then ask, is there any furniture that you are thinking you might want to leave or something that you'd be willing to sell if someone asked for it? And they might say no to both of those, but it's just it makes you look knowledgeable. Hey, I've had experience in this before. And then, hey, if you guys are downsizing or upsizing and you need this bedroom set or you really love the couch or some of the art is for sale, it's just a conversation piece to distract them from, hey, the roof is old or I want to negotiate on this. Hey, look at this stuff too. So those two
Interesting.
questions will save you a lot of headache.
Wow. Okay. I wish I listened to this. Too late now. The deal is closed. Yeah. Sam, you wanna share any of the story, any the thing that went wrong and how you solved it? We would love to learn from it.
Oh, that's a lot of transactions that things have just gone wrong to even think about. I think the one that made me question whether or not I wanted to stay in real estate, there's one that made me want to specialize in something. I'm thinking of both of these, and they weren't too far and few between. But anyway, so there was this one, I was working with an investor, and part of the negotiation, I said, my buyer will pay my 3% so that your seller can keep the 3% and not pay me that. And that was how we got it under contract and everything. And this deal got pushed out at least 4 months. And it wasn't even that big of a house. Like it was like the tiniest
Oh wow.
house. It was barely even a payday. But I was needing the payday. I finally got it across the finish line. And at closing, the seller's agent took 6%.
Oh.
and my buyer flipped out and wasn't going to close, like refusing to close because of it. I was trying to negotiate with the listing agent. He said, you said you didn't need the 3%. And I said, I gave you that 3% for this deal. And my seller has no problem paying me the full 6%. But it was like a really screwy situation too, because the seller was an elderly man who was going blind. His daughter was basically facilitating the whole deal.
Oh man.
And the seller's wife had a power of attorney.
Oh,
It was all messed
messy.
up.
Messy.
And I ended up having to drop my commission just to make it go through. But I ended up getting the listing on the other side. So
Wow.
that was the good thing about that one.
So let me try to understand. So you do that deal for free with no commission. The listing agent takes 6%. Wow.
Used to be an EXP agent too, and they left EXP prior to that whole deal.
Okay.
And I was just like, just shocked.
Wow.
And
Honestly,
the buyers were willing to pay your commission until they found out that the listing agent was double dipping. That's messy.
I know, it was so messy. And honestly, like, I will never do a deal where I have not negotiated my commission with a seller, or at least have it somewhere in writing. Hey, if I'm giving anything up or my buyer's paying commission, like, you guys, I want to see your documents before any of that stuff goes on. Because
Go ahead.
it was super messy and stuff. But then that was the day that, like, I truly broke down and was like, am I even made out for this anymore? I worked my butt off and I'm getting nothing.
But Amanda, what could Sarah do differently? I'm trying to think here.
And that's really, you want to fix and prevent, but it's hard to really find out what you could do. I had one recently but it was a short sale, and come to find out they weren't being too shady. They said we can only pay 2% buyer's agent commission. And then I saw that they were earning 4%. And I was a little snarky, like, really? And they were actually netting more than the guy short selling his house. But the listing agent was getting 2%, and then the short sale negotiator was getting 2%. So I was like, okay, but at least we had that conversation.
Yeah.
I don't think you could say, hey, can I see your listing agreement? But how mine typically read is, I'm going to get 4, 5, 6%, and then we can offer whatever of that to the buyer's agent, because sometimes the buyer's agent asks for less, or it just is a cushion for you to get to have more, or to give a credit to your seller. I don't know if they have to share that with you though. That's a separate agreement. It's just almost like, do your part and do the right thing and be a good human.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to me, it's like part of us getting our license. You have to be ethical.
Ethical. Yeah.
Yeah. So lesson learned from that for me, like whenever you work, make sure that you get paid legally. The only time when I play around with my commission is that when I'm buying my own house. So for example, the flip that I'm buying, I know that there's 10 offer on it. So I wrote in the offer like, hey, if you can pay me 2.5% as agreed, great. If this is a deal breaker for you, you know what, Mr. Seller, go ahead and take the whole 5%. I don't mind at all. This is the house I'm buying. I am the investor. Look at that. So that alone will put me in front of everybody else as far as the offer table. But the listing agent was nice enough, so they take my offer and they still she still pay me 2%. So she's taking an extra 0.5%, which is perfectly fine with me. But that's the only time I play around with my commission, is when I buy my own deal, to make sure I get that deal. Yeah.
I like that perspective too, Hui. Like, for you, you're like, document it, but then as long as you're getting yours and everybody's communicating and happy, I hope the seller makes a lot of money. I hope the listing agent makes 8%. I don't care what happens on the other end, as long as it's right and it's documented and I'm taken care of and my client's taken care of. But for you didn't get taken care of. So you'd have to see, how do I document that to make sure maybe it's a credit towards closing costs from the seller to the buyer and then the buyer to you, or it's documented on paragraph 12 for Texas, something to where, but you felt like it was documented because it was part of your buyer's rep, but maybe have a separate amendment where they're signing it saying, I agree that my buyers are paying this and the seller is paying the listing agent that, and have it on an amendment or something.
Yeah. Good lesson. You're on mute, Sarah.
Oh, I'm definitely going to end up doing that.
Yeah.
If I ever do anything like that again, but I won't. I'm just like, no, like, I'm going to negotiate my commission regardless. So
Really good. That's really good. Okay. Sarah, thank you for sharing the story. Michael, I know that you're doing a lot of deals. Have you run into anything like scary that want to make you quit real estate that you can share with us?
Never wanted to quit real estate. I love real estate.
You.
Something I learned early on as my first transaction, I negotiated the repairs and I told the listing agent, I put in the amendment to get the door fixed because it was rotting away. And I think it's the gate as well, the fence, sorry. And they agreed it. They agreed. I think I did a walkthrough. It's been some years. But long story short, when we closed, it wasn't done. And what I put in the amendment was to replace rotting door and missing panels on the fence. And what I learned from that was from now on, now I double check all my amendments and offers out, make sure I got everything I need there. Now I'll just put which door, how much damage it is. I put it exactly from the report, what is written on the report, inspection report, and put it on the amendment. And I refer from, if it says section 2A, I'd say 2A or something like that, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So just so there's no confusion, because they just left that door the way it was instead of fixing it. And they said, when I asked the agent how can they replace it or fix it, they said you to specify which one. And I was like, okay, lesson learned. But my clients, they were a little frustrated because it wasn't done. So I'm not sure if it's right or not. But I went to, after we closed, I went to go hire somebody to go get it fixed and just out of my earnings. But it was a lesson learned to be more detailed and thorough with your.
This is really good, Michael. So that is actually opening up a can of worms. I see people put all kind of stuff on the amendment when it comes to repair. Some of them is very detailed and some of them is very unspecific. And it's really hard to keep track of it when you're not specific with the item that you make the request. I don't know, Sarah and Amanda, I don't know if you guys have any best practice when it comes to writing the option for repair. Like for me, I always steer the conversation toward the credit, because for me, if I can get the people, the seller and the buyer to accept a credit in lieu of repair, I know that my life is going to be so much easier than specify the repair. And then you have to verify the repair, you have to verify the receipt. So you just, in a sense, create a lot of work for you. So I always get people to accept the credit in lieu of all the repair. So I don't know what you guys have any best practice that you guys want to share.
Yeah, like my inspector, the way he sends us the report, and he's very quick too. Like he sends it immediately after it's done. And there's a way that you can build your own report off of it, and it shows the pictures and where everything is at and everything. And I just tick everything possible and I send it out and say, hey, these are the repairs that we need made. And typically they do come back and say, hey, they don't want to make any repairs. We'll do like a monetary thing and then I'll negotiate how much. But if they are going to make repairs, I always put in the amendment, these repairs need to be made. Receipts or invoices need to be shared with buyer that it has been repaired by a professional. Because if not, like Joe Schmo can come over and or like their son could come over and try to fix it and it might not be done the proper way.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah.
Money's always easy. And you don't want to tell buyers or sellers what they have to do, but you want to help them make it feel like it's their decision. And so I always tell the buyer, hey, we can pick 3 or 4 big ticket items and that's really it. And then we'll also give them the option of money in lieu of repairs. I always ask for double of what I want because they're always going to counter me. And if they give me more, that's great. But let's say they wanted $3,000, I'll ask for 6. And what I'll do is I'll say on the amendment for repairs, I'll say see addendum A, and then I'll do, it's really annoying. I have an engineer mindset, I guess. I'll put like exactly almost what the report said. If it says service the AC, I'm going to put in there ensure proper propane levels, clean the air ducts, and then put by an HVAC specialist and provide receipts. But I'll put every single item that needs to be on there, because as soon as you put fix the water heater, they're going to put some Band-Aid on the gas line and call it a day and say, hey, I fixed it. And so being like annoyingly specific. And then when they get those 3 or 4 items, you're saying, hey, I just asked for 3 things, but it's exactly what you need. Or I'll take $5,000. They're probably going to see the list and be overwhelmed by it and say, hey, I'll just throw some money at it. And then you can pitch your buyers, yes, this isn't done at closing, But now you get to hire not the cheapest guy who the seller probably would have hired, but an actual professional who you trust, that you can look at reviews, that I can recommend, and you've got a budget. And if it comes in under budget, you get to keep the difference. So cash is king for sure, but be like Michael was saying, per section 2.3 in the inspection report, page 4, dated for November 4th, 2000, whatever, as detailed as you can be. Just like when you do non-realty, you don't just say the fridge, because they're going to give you the black ugly fridge in the garage. Like, you need to say where it is, what color it is, where you found it, all of that stuff. So
very good, very good. Yeah. So that's the best practice. Be very specific with the inspection, with the inspection report, the repair amendment, or try to influence the conversation. And the listing agent will agree with you on it, is to go toward the repair credit. It's make everybody life easy, a lot easier. Yeah, good tip. Thank you, Michael, for sharing. Yeah, V, do you have any story that make you want to quit real estate you want to share with us? And thank you for joining today.
Hey, this is very recently and it's very upsetting. So this person got referred to me last year, but he ended up went with somebody else, also EXP. So early this year, he called me back and asked, hey, I want to downsize the previous house because it was 2-story. My wife got injured on her knee, so I just want 1-story now. So I want to sell and buy at the same time. So, okay, great. I definitely can help you with that. And then because of dual transaction, of course, he asked for a little discount on the commission portion. And so I agreed to that. I give him all, of course, I listened to what he want. I gave him all the advice. He disregarded all my advice. He went with his idea on a certain area. He want to reduce the price. So I said, hey, if you want to lower the price, downside, his previous home is about in the mid 700. So he said, hey, I want lower payment and I want new house, I want certain thing. But he decided to go with build from ground up, and he picked all the options to all the tile and everything. So the amount is add up very close to the previous home. Got in contract. And then we're waiting for pour foundations and all of that. And he was like, wait a minute, I changed my mind. I like the house that you recommend me in Katy last time. So now I have to figure out how we can cancel the current contract, move all the money deposit to the other house. So it's a lot of work behind the scene. So finally, we got that house done, got close to closing. Another tricky situation for this one is that he doesn't have strong credit and he couldn't prove the certain income portion. So we have to be very creative on the loan. So in this case, we have to use a loan where they say, buy before you sell. I found a lender that partner with Kai team. She able to find one program that saved him a little bit money. But again, he did not listen. He went with somebody else. So then, okay, fast forward to the closing. We closed that.
Wow, congrats.
Yes. And at closing for the, sorry. Because he went with the lender that he chose, the closing cost is $50,000.
50, 50?
50,000 for buy and sell.
wow.
And then he come back, he asked me, hey, I cannot close on the house. I need you to help me. I need you to contribute more of your commission and help me out. And of course, I feel bad. And I was like, okay, I still do dual transactions. Let me help him out. Okay, let me help him out. So I give him more of my commissions. Basically, I make very little on the buying side, very little. And at the closing table of the buying, of course, we're chatting. We ask about the age. We ask about the element, the metal and earth, whatever, all of that.
Yeah.
And then the day after, he was like, oh, I want to terminate your listing, the listing that you list for me.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And of course, he like blah, 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 whatever reason. I said, no, I pay. Me and my team did a lot. We do this and this and this and this. And he was like, okay, fine. The true reason is by talking to you, I realized that my element and your elements are conflict.
Oh my, I hate
and your element is pretty like destroy my element. That's why it's really hard for us.
Oh man.
What is this element thing?
It's like a belief, Amanda. I can explain to you later.
Like horoscope, like horoscope.
Yeah, like horoscope. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Oh, so like you're water and he's fire or something?
Correct, something like that. Yeah, something like that.
Wow.
And then, if you're able to go forward, it's going to be very hard. We're going to waste a lot of money. I was like, I give you a lot of way to save money, but you disregard all my advice. And I was like, okay, fine. Now we talk about horoscope. Okay, your element is this. Now my team, we have thousands of agents that I'm sure we're able to match your element. What are you looking for? So I do my research too. I was like, okay, his element is this, and this is gonna support him. So I was like, okay, hey, I have this one person. She's great. She's super good, which is May. Her element support your element, and it manifests your element. So let me bring her on. And then he looked at her and I was like, no, I don't think so either. Basically, everything I propose, he's no. I was like, okay, what you looking for? So, oh, bring on all the agent that you have, and then I'll pick from there. I was like, no, I have 1,000 of agent. Anything you look from year 70, 71, 72, all the way to 2000 and more, I have everybody, okay? And then he very adamant on terminations. He even called EXP called me multiple times. So I explained the situation. I said that no, I spend a lot of money, time, and effort, and even give up a big part of my commission on the buying side to help him out. And now he just ditched me, and that's not right. So EXP said, okay, what do you want me to tell him? So I said, I don't want to terminate my listing agreement, and it's last until end of year. So what can you tell him? So EXP say, okay, I'm just going to tell him that. Then if he pursue with another listing agent, and if the house sell, he have to pay double commissions, one for us and one for the other broker. So EXP told him that. Of course, he's scared. He doesn't want to pay that money. And then I'm threatened, of course, EXP, the broker, and kind of threat him all the lawsuits and stuff too. So he's scared. So he ended up went with May.
Oh my
He ended
God.
up went with May. Yeah. And so me and Mesa agree on like the commissions and all of that. Of course, we have to give him like a little bit of the discount, as I promised at the very beginning, where I thought I could keep everything. So went into this one. It's a big headache for May too, because he said, okay,
Now I remember.
on Sunday, on Sunday at 7:05, you have to send me a listing agreement to sign. And at 9:10, you have to click active for that listing to make it live.
Oh, because
Like,
of the feng shui. Yeah.
yes. And then and for the buying side, when the buyer is like a lot of headache for me too, but we're finally able to close on this house.
Yeah.
I'm able to recoup several $100s from my previous money that I spent on pictures and all of that. And then me and Min's agreement on the commission portion. We reached the final line, so it's good.
Wow. So you actually closed the deal. Oh my God.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Yes.
And there's a lot of lesson that I think we can extract out from V's story. And V, thank you so much for sharing. I heard some of the story because I saw Min stressed out about his deal. So I heard some of the tidbit about his story, but now you just tell me the whole picture, which is like crazy. Amanda, go ahead. You know, there's a lot of things that we can unpack from V's story.
It's hard because I would say normally when you're selling a house, you'll give a credit when they buy, but he bought first. So I would say maybe give a credit always on the second transaction. That way you know that you're secure and you don't have to risk that. I think it's great that you didn't just give up and say, no, okay, I'll give up my listing because there's a conflict that happened. And you were able to say, hey, if you don't want to work with me, here's another opportunity. I think that's really smart. I'm learning about this element thing. Apparently I'm fire. That's really cool to see. Interesting for sure.
Wait,
Yeah.
wait until you get into some other stuff, Amanda. There's a whole bunch of other stuff.
Yeah. Everybody is so different. So I think it's a learning opportunity. I do think that we get in this rabbit hole sometimes of having clients tell us what to do.
Exactly.
They hire us because we're the professionals, and then they micromanage the bejesus out of us. And that's not how it is. Our listing agreement says we will market it, we will put it on MLS, and these are the days that we'll do it. It doesn't say what time we're going to send the doc or what time we're going to list it. It just says within 5 days or whatever your doc says. So I think it is this delicate dance. I want to listen to you and respect you and understand what you want. And I also need you to trust me to do my part. You got to buy the house, and I don't tell you how to be a doctor or be a pharmacist or whatever those people are, but I'm picking on her because she's actually a pharmacist. She's beautiful. But I think that really a lot of people see us as door openers and contract filler outers on templated contracts that are not too complicated. And so I think really standing our ground sometimes and saying, hey, you hired me because you saw something in me and you knew that I could take care of you. But now you're a control freak and you're not allowing me to do so. I need you to try and push back a little bit. Sometimes it's okay, especially if you got a contract, push back a little bit and have a little bit of confrontation.
Yeah. And my if I were to handle this client, this go back to buyer qualification. This is why we pre-qualify our buyer before we start working with them. It's actually for us to protect our time as well. So eventually, you're gonna get really good at detect this kind of stuff in a very early stage. Initial meeting, ask them a couple questions, and immediately you're gonna be a good fit for this person or not. And I take that very seriously. I used to try to get everybody to work with me because I just need a commission. But later on, you're gonna realize that the amount of mental stress and the amount of time that take away from your business because of this one particular client, it's not really worth it. Remember, only 20% of your client will make 80% of the money. So if that client is not your 20% ideal client, I would kindly decline them or maybe refer them out for somebody that would be a better fit. Yeah, so I would, if I was an earlier V, I would go back and really look at, hey, what is my ideal clientele? What are the people I like to work with? And then start with that and then really stick with that. Don't go outside of your client buy box, if you will.
If you end up getting someone and you're like, hey, he's got a great price point, he's not my ideal, but I want to double dip at 700 and it's going to be worth the struggle. What I've learned, and this, guys, plug your ears, is guys never want a woman, especially in certain cultures, to tell them what to do. But again, they want to feel like they were empowered. Maybe they were given the information and they made their own choice. And so stack those stories. So if he doesn't listen to you and use your lender and he picks another one, go, oh, I'm so glad you found that one. I'm so glad that you're doing research and you're doing so great about looking into all the opportunities. She sounds incredible. Just be aware that I just had a client go through that. They found someone online and it seemed awesome. And they ended up paying like $50,000 for gap funding. And it was just ridiculous, like predatory lending. I just can't believe people are out there. Do me a favor and just double check and have her. You're such in research mode and you're so awesome at what you do. Ask for a sample CD and all the fees. And then I'll do the same for mine and I'll send it over to you and you just look at it. And that way they feel like you gave them all the info and they're empowered and have all their, what their ego's not affected, but they're able to then see before you have the headache of I made the wrong choice and I can redirect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah, again, I love your story. Yeah, it really go back to lead qualification, and that's the reason why we focus a portion of our time on lead generation because we want to get the lead, but we also want to make sure the lead will be a fit for both. It's like more like a partnership. Yeah. Wow, V. I love that story. Wow. Congratulations on sticking it out and closing it. That is amazing. We need to go out for lunch for that or something.
A lot of objections to overcome. Okay,
All
I'm
right.
dying to hear Teddy's because Teddy's always in some kind of crazy
Yeah.
wild situation.
Teddy, you are the last one today. Go ahead.
That's too funny. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, good, because I'm in my car, so I apologize. And I just pulled over. But I found my strength in real estate is to quickly forget anything that was overly challenging about a transaction. Soon after the transaction is over, I'll reflect on it. What can I do better for the next time? And then I really am good at forgetting about it. So to find something that said, hey, I'm going to quit real estate, that's every day. But like to find a transaction that caused me to do that, I don't think so. But some have really bothered me. And one was, but I got rid of it quick. One was early on. I had been marketing this neighborhood for a while and connected with somebody who was thinking about selling, but it took a year of follow-up to finally get to the point where they invited me to their house, show the house. They took great care of it. It was a great house, and that they were looking for a new build, but they didn't want any stick builder. They wanted something that was done by a small builder, either as a spec home or they were going to build. So I didn't know a lot of small builders in the area. So I quickly spent a lot of time looking for small builders, sacrificed my weekend, looking them all up, connecting with them in the price range and everything else. And it was really stressful because, like I said, I'd given up my whole weekend really trying to make this happen, impress the seller and the buyer. And they reached out to me soon after, said, hey, they're going to an open house. And I said, don't go alone. Let me go with you. So we ran to the open house, but it wasn't an open house. They thought they were going to an open house. I didn't even get time to research it because they called me about an hour before. So out there, we're talking about it. And I asked them about one of the areas, the lots they were looking at. And they said, don't worry about that. It's too swampy and it's going to be full of mosquitoes. And I said, okay, we'll look somewhere else. These are some of the things I had sent them. And then it wasn't 2 days later, they said, hey, did you go out and check out that lot? And I said, no, you told me not to check it out. And they said, no, we were just joking about that. And I said, sure didn't sound like a joke. You told me not to do it. And the guy got really aggressive with me. And he said, our former realtor would have done so much more. I said, what did you expect me to do? And he said, I expected you to go out and door knock the neighborhood and see if there were mosquitoes at the lot.
Oh, wow.
And I said, but you literally told me. I said, your wife literally told me not to do it. And he goes, you calling my wife a liar?
Oh.
And I said, no, but what I will do is I'll send you a release because I'm not working with you.
Yeah.
And he goes, you're going to quit on us that easily? I said, absolutely, I'm quitting on you that easily. And then that was, unfortunately, they then fired the lender I recommended, who was doing a really good job for him. But that was probably, and I truncated that for this conversation. It was a little more involved than that. But that was probably just one of the bad situations I had. But everything real estate has its challenges. Again, I don't dwell on the bad things that happen and I move on. But I will forever remember that and proud of myself because I needed the business at the time. It was like 5 years ago. We needed the business, but releasing clients, and it was going to be over $1 million deal altogether. Yeah, I think that was more important for my mental well-being than actually doing the deal.
I read a quote once that stuck with me. It said, when people show you who they are, believe them the first time.
Yeah.
And they're showing, like, especially like when you meet sellers and they're like, oh, I'm not paying buyer's agents and I'll pay you 1%. If you're representing a buyer, you can go through the whole conversation of commissions and stuff, but say, I'm so glad they showed us who they are up front. And so Teddy, your client at the time was really showing you that he was going to be a huge hassle and not respect you. And he's got a sensitive ego up front and you got to make that decision. So yeah, that's life lesson that I've taken is when people show you who they are, don't go, oh, they're having a bad day or, oh, this situation. No, some people are just who they are.
Yeah, and Teddy, your story just bring me one more thing that is the core of my communication. So I think your story has a lot of lessons to learn with communication. So if you guys notice, when I work, my communication is very short and it's very concise. It doesn't go all over the place. It makes sure I get to point A to point B and then I get off the phone. So that way I'm very clear with the people I work with. And that just actually traced back to my college lesson because I think you would have related to this because in Vietnam, we are taught to write very long essay, write as long as possible in order to get a good grade. But over here, I have a very good English teacher. He took my 5-page essay and he told me like, Huy, I love your essay, but if you can say the same thing that you're trying to say in 1 page, I'm going to give you A. That is a lesson I take from that college class, from that English 101 class, all the way until today. Whatever that I can say, instead of 5 sentences, if I can shorten that in 1 sentence and still keep the meaning of it, I will do that. And that just served me really well until today. So that would be the lesson that I take from Teddy. Communication at work is almost like military. It's very short, it's very concise. And when you hear something, say that one more time to confirm it. Hey, affirmative. I need to do one ABC. Got it. I'm gonna do A, B, and C. So I repeat, or I almost make the other person repeat what I just say, just to confirm we're on the same page. And that just served me so well. There's no but this and that, or people mishearing me.
That's great advice. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's Pascal has a famous quote, and he was writing this letter. It was super historical, and it said, "I would have written a shorter letter, but I did not have the
Oh, I
time."
love that. Yep, that's it. Yeah, so that's work communication right there. Very short, very concise, point A to point B. So that way everybody on the same page.
And there's a psychological thing to that, where let's say Sarah and I are planning for tomorrow. I'm like, okay, so we talked about all this stuff. I'm going to do this, and you're going to do this, and this is the next step. And so you got your action plans, but the whole conversation is we're in this together, and we're aligning, and we are each playing a part. It's not just you leaning on me or me leaning on you, and then that's what's going to happen next. And so it's us against the world mindset, which you want for your clients, rather than when stuff goes down, it's your fault or someone else's fault.
Yeah. Yeah,
This
I
is
think that's
really
it.
good.
Man,
Juicy.
what a really good mastermind. Thank you guys for showing up and sharing your story. I love this.
I want to ask Amanda or any one of you one thing. So a lot of time, like for me, newer agent, we trying to be nice and trying to be relatable and understanding and listen to them. So how do you be nice, listen to them, but able to stand your ground and kind of, what did I say? not be mean, but be mean.
Oh, that's Amanda right there.
Hey,
I've mastered
no,
that.
this is no, you not go that way. This is A, B, and C. No, you have to listen to me. Think like that. But you still like, oh, relatable and nice at the same time.
You probably have practiced like the whole feel, felt, found, which is, oh yeah, I'm validating you, and then I'm going to tell you a story, and then I'm going to redirect you. It's the same thing. And so let's say they're like, hey, for your example, I'm going to use this lender, whether you like it or not, I'm going to do whatever. The whole concept, especially for us, because we're introverted and people are like, okay, you're a small woman. I know more. There's all these prejudgments. They don't know your background, is to be really calm, but strong. And that's kind of like my mantra this year is calm and strong. You don't have to be yelling. You don't have to be drama. You don't have to like kick back in any way, but just calmly redirect them. And so you'll say, I get it. I understand. And then you totally just reiterate exactly what they told you. You want to use this lender because of blah, 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 blah. That makes sense. This is what I'm going to tell you professionally. This is my advice, and kind of reiterate in there, in my experience, or professionally, this is what I have found, or make sure you look out for this, and then redirect them. Here's 1, 2, 3 that I need you to do. And I hate, like Mikey and Jeff say, does that make sense? For me, the word does that make sense as a justification makes me feel like they're calling me stupid. Does that make sense? Yes, I understand English. But you can say something like, how do you feel about that for the next course of action? Or does that sound exciting? Or would you think that's going to be the most impactful for what we're aiming for? Something to where they have to say yes to you to make them start to have that buy-in. But validate whatever they're doing, smile while you're saying it, but be really strong that you know that this is the next best course of action for them. Give them the reasons why and redirect.
No,
It's almost like kids, like they want the sucker, and you have to compromise with them and say, I understand suckers are great, and I know you want to have them for breakfast, and then redirect them to something else, and then have a compromise, worst case at the end.
yeah, I love that, Amanda. And I have one word for you for this question. It's called soft skill. Soft skill is the thing that we don't learn in school, but yet it's so important. And you can clearly see that at the airport. I just come back from the airport. I can just tell by the way you walk, the way you talk, and the way you rest. I can tell that if you sit on business class or not, period. I can look at a person, the way they talk, the way they rest, and the way they walk, especially and the way they stand. I can tell you that you either sit on business class or economy class, and I'm like 90% right all the time. So when I go travel with Jenny, we always make bet, and then I'm 90% right all the time because I look at them, the way they talk, the way they rest, the way they walk, their soft skill. There's a certain word they use to make them a leader, to make them really strong, really confident. And the one book that you want to write down is called Exactly What to Say. That book is really good. They have exactly what to say for leader, exactly what to say for real estate agent, exactly what to say for that particular career. I'm just saying, for example, I used to say, maybe we should do this. You can totally change that to the way I see it, and then you go forward with your sentence. So just a lot of stuff that you can slowly rebrand and then script it a little different. You still say the same thing, but it's very different from what I say, hey, the way I see it, from maybe we should do that. You see the difference? It's very different, but it's all convey the same meaning. Yeah, so work on your soft skills, really important.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Amanda. That was so good.
Then you'll learn how to say anything really without offending them, or they'll feel like it's us against the world. I can't remember the historic story. God, is it? There's two politicians and they're fighting and they're trying to get along and they can't come to an agreement. I think it was Franklin back, maybe Roosevelt, I don't know, back in the day. And they ended up sitting on a bench and they were arguing. And he said, come take a walk with me. And as they're walking, they came to an agreement, and it like was impactful for history. But the whole concept is, if you and I are looking across the table from each other, we're going to probably have some, like if I have to have a difficult conversation with you, I don't want to have it like this. And in the most ideal situation is you're both looking at the same screen, you're both looking at the same numbers, or you're both walking through the house and you guys, it's subconscious. You guys are parallel to each other and you're both focusing on the same thing. That's something that helps me as well. So if I'm like in a recruiting appointment or I'm having like a listing appointment, I don't do the across the table thing. I'm snuggled up like we're buddies, and we're going to have something where it's us against the world, going back to that, where we're both aligning on together before we even talk. We're both looking at the same thing and we're both walking parallel. And it's a subconscious thing of we're on the same page. We have the same journey, the same end game, rather than we're compromising and we're arguing.
Very important. Yeah. That thing too. If you notice, if you set up a three-way call or three-way coffee with me and Amanda, we always figure out a way to sit next to them instead of in front of them. And if you don't know this thing, you don't pay attention, but it's really this little thing that make difference.
And it's only awkward for 30 seconds and then it gets cozy. So just
Wow, very, very good question, V. I love you asked that. Yeah. All right. I think, yeah, wow, the hour just fly by. Amanda, thank you so much for your time. And we have a lunch and leverage for Thursday. Same place, Amanda. Same topic. So I'm gonna try to gather a good group and then please come share a meal and sharing your Halloween, your crazy story with us. Because I all think like this meeting today, it just helped, you it's actually solve a lot of problem than all the bragging out there.
I like that.
Yeah.
Teddy, you can probably do that too. So he calls it lunch and leverage, and you pick a place where they walk to a counter and order their food, and then everybody sits down at a big table. That way you don't have to have a sponsor. Nobody's buying each other's lunch. There's not an awkward split the checks at the end, and it's super laid back, and everybody sits next to new people and they just talk, and it's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, I need that blueprint.
Yeah.
That's really all it
That's really it.
Take the location and make sure it's a place where they pay at the counter. The rest is just organic.
So
If
it's
you
just people, it's just people getting together.
Yeah, so he calls it lunch and leverage, and it's all the last time there's probably, I don't know, 15 people, and every 3 or 4 people they would talk about something, and then they kind of like these next 2 or 3 people would talk, and so some people would walk around and move around, but pretty much whoever you're sitting by, those 4 to 6 people, you end up with new connections and new ahas, and then the next month they do it again, and everybody has little sub conversations throughout the thing.
Yep.
That's on Thursday.
Yeah, Thursday. It's Thursday. Yeah, so come on over again, and then we do the same format. I try to pick like a different topic, so that way you can come to the lunch with some talking point, and then it just go organic from there. Right?
Oh, so there's a topic to begin with.
For me, I pick attraction, but it's totally up to you. So this week it's gonna be Halloween story again for the first time. It's really flexible. 3 people can show up and you still have a good time. 20 people show up and you still have a good time. So the size doesn't really matter.
I'll try to think of a different story.
Yeah.
For the lunch and leverage.
I'm sure you have plenty. We have plenty.
Teddy, if you ever want to this week or next week, this week's back to school week, but maybe later this week or next week, get together and I can tell you, like, because we do book club, coffee and collaboration, there's Millionaire Mochas, there's so many options for events, and they're all pretty similar in the same idea of getting them together, passively recruiting them, or having that retention for your crew. I can pitch you on all the ones that we do and how we do them, and you can see which one resonates best for your crew, and we can implement it.
That'd be great. This coming week on the 20th, we're having an appraiser come out and talk about how he's going to appraise in the shifting market, and then what his mindset is when he appraises, and then that'll hopefully help us on our pricing as well.
That's incredible. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
This was amazing. Thank you, Hui, for organizing it. I don't know if we know our topic for next week. We'll try to announce it ahead of time so you guys can plan, but we'll be doing this again next Tuesday.
Sounds good. All right. Bye, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Okay, Thursday. Bye.